let's end on a very high note. Let's end with one of my favorites in the history of this game. What an honor it has been to cover this man. And like I said, not only one of my favorite fighters to cover, just one of the best people I've met in life, period. An amazing human being. You know how I feel about him. Earlier this morning, Paddy Holohan announced, unfortunately, that he has to retire at a young age. It's sudden, it's unexpected, and he was supposed to fight in a couple of weeks in Rotterdam. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but he seems to be in great spirits, and he has a long future in this sport. But I really wanted to have him on the program, and I really appreciate him coming on. He joins us right now via the phone. Paddy, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Paddy, pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you very much. I know a lot must be going on in your life. If you could just tell us, I mean, we're, 6 or so hours since you made the announcement, 7 maybe. What's life been like since you made this news public?
I haven't been counting myself now.
What's it been like?
I don't know. I've just kind of been in my house. I kind of expected it over the last week. I was in Iceland for a week, and I kind of knew I was trying to sort it back and forward there and put the statement together. And so then when I came back, it was ready time to do it today. So I had to just make that announcement.
When did you find out that this was an issue? When did you know about this rare blood disorder?
Well, when I was 8 years of age, I was diagnosed with it, and it's an extremely rare kind of. It's called a factor 13 deficiency. It's like how a clot is sealed after it's formed over a cut. So it's actually not to do with it's after damage. Like, so say if you get cut when the cut is healed, the clot doesn't form properly. So when I was diagnosed at that age, I think it was diagnosed that 1 in 5 million people get it, so it's really rare. So I got a factor replacement for it. So it's kind of like taking a vitamin there, like where you replace it.
So you've known about this long before you started MMA. This is a secret that you haven't told anyone close to you?
No, not that I haven't told anybody close to me. It's not really a secret to me. It wasn't as crazy as it sounds. I've been sparring. I've been athletic all of my life. Before I was diagnosed, I used to have like bruising and things like that. But then the minute I was diagnosed and I got the treatment for it, I was good again. Like, I never really had problems to deal with bruising other like normal people have.
So at what point did it, because you had a career, you were a fighter before the UFC, you know, young, healthy man. At what point do you get the news that this can potentially end your career? That even though you've known about this for well over a decade, this now suddenly makes your career end on the spot?
Well, at the time, not that I didn't disclose it. It ended up I walked into John's gym, and at about 19 years of age, and started training jiu-jitsu. I didn't expect to be going up to the UFC to fight in the main event as it came. So as a process, we went on. I never denied anything. I never hid anything. But then when the UFC found out after an injury in Dublin, they diagnosed it that you wouldn't be able to. When they got other information and weighed it up with their own doctors, that they wouldn't be able to pass me for a medical anymore. So they told me that they were going to have to remove my contract, and it's not their fault, it's not my fault, it's just the way it worked out.
How did they find out? Was it because of USADA doing like more advanced drug tests? I mean, blood tests, I should say. Like, how did they find this out when you fought for them several times in the past?
Because when I got injured in Dublin, I had a surgery in a team of hemophilia doctors were there.
Oh.
When they went back after Dublin, I had hurt my disc again in my back, and I got a scan, and a letter got sent, and it's just the way it came out that way. And Vegas were straight away onto the UFC, took all the precautions that they had to do, and the minute they found out that this was kind of an issue that I had, and I didn't see this as an excess. This is just a normal thing to me. I've been treating for 10 years. It's just normal to me. But to the UFC took the measures they had, and they informed me that I wouldn't be able to get past for a fight license. So what else do you do when you can't get a fight license? So I had to retire, and I'm grateful for what I've got to do in the sport. I got to raise with a lot of superstars that came up from the Irish circuit, and I got to kind of do an apprenticeship over a really good time in MMA in Ireland. So I'm not happy. We understand. We do. We understand.
So for the uninformed, what is it about this rare blood disorder that is stopping you from fighting? Like, why can't you, even though you fought with it before, and were willing to do so? What is actually stopping you medically from fighting? Because there's
increased chances of cranium bleeds. So that's what it says on if the diagnosis of it. So I'd be at a higher percentage of somebody probably to be able to get a bleed.
Okay.
So at that, no doctor is going to pass you fit to be able to fight and say that I clear this guy to fight when he has a higher risk of. It's a fight at the end of the day as well.
So given your line of work, are doctors surprised that you've been okay up until this point?
Yeah, well, as I said to you, Ariel, it's 1 in 5 million, so there's not a big case study being done on a thing that rare, you know. So, like, to me, I am the evidence of me. That's what I think. I train. I don't have any issues, any problems. I feel okay. I'm fit, you know. I spar. I've never really had any issues of injuries to do with this. This to me, that's why this never really came to me of like, oh, I have to say this or this big thing. This is like a diabetic say to me. That's what it feels like, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to take any medication or anything like that for it?
Yeah, but I take a medication for it. Like,
sorry, say it again.
I take a medication for it. I take a fibrogamin, it's called.
Okay. And so when did you get the official word that they weren't going to, have you on the roster anymore because you can't get cleared? When did you find out this news? How long ago?
I know the process started. I think as soon as the UFC came across it, straight away they rang me straight away and asked me, is there something that you have to disclose? And I straight away I told them I have this, and I got letters from doctors to say that this is what it is, this is what the letters are. I sent them to Vegas. Vegas went over them and done all the precautions that they had to do, and then they informed me that I wouldn't have been able to pass a medical. So this is it. I should have maybe disclosed at the start, but you know what? I didn't, and I took a chance on it. That's as I said. I walked into John's gym, 19, doing jiu-jitsu. I ended up going up, having a fight. You know what happens? It's not like it wasn't back when it all started, like crazy medicals and things like that. You fall.
So given this,
it's much better now these days.
Right.
Like the medical standard is brilliant in MMA now. So,
given how sensitive of a topic this is, did someone, like, I'm wondering who told you the news? Like, who gave you that final answer that that you wouldn't be cleared anymore?
Well, I was asked to send over the information about this disorder, and I sent it over, and then Vegas informed me that they would check it through and go through it, and it's just how the process started. Then you don't know who to be like sending you an email to say this, and this is the way it's going to happen. But the UFC, they handled it like professionally, you know.
Now, have you considered, or did you consider then just going to fight for someone else, like saying, okay, I'm going to leave the UFC, but I'll go fight for a promotion in England and Ireland and Europe, anywhere else? Is that something that you thought of at any point? Oh, did we lose him? Paddy, are you? All right, we're going to call Paddy back. We may have lost him there. Certainly unfortunate news. 27 years old, Paddy Holohan, still going to be a major part of that SBG team. His last fight, in a way, nice that he got that main event after some crazy circumstances with Joe Duffy suffering that concussion and getting pulled at the last minute from that card. He ended up fighting in a fight that was fantastic to watch, and I thought should have garnered a little more attention for one of the best fights of the year. I'm not going to say the best fight of the year, but certainly, I mean, from start to finish, that fight against Luis Smolka, which Smolka won towards the end of the second round, was just a fantastic bout between two great fighters. But we remember July 19, 2004. He set the table for that night that will be talked about until these days are done. I mean, that night in Dublin, where it all started for those young men, he was the first one up. He was the first one up to bat. It came out to that song 10,000 Hours, and if you haven't seen that mini documentary that the guys over at SevereMMA.com produced about Paddy Holohan and Owen Roddy, it's called 10,000 Hours. It's phenomenal, and it was very fitting that he was the one that started it. Conor McGregor, the one that finished it that night against Diego Brandao. Oh, that to me is top five. You know by now, if you've ever listened to this show or watched this show, the magic in the air that night. Paddy Holohan, Cathal Pendred, Neil Seery, Norman Park, Gunnar Nelson, the honorary Irishman, Conor McGregor, all winning, all in impressive fashion, all great performances. I think that a movie can be made about that night, whether it's a documentary or a feature film. If you follow them from start to finish, if you follow, and it ends that night. It doesn't matter. I had someone, I tweeted this earlier, and I had someone say, well, look at them now. That doesn't matter. How they all started and how it all came together on that night. A lot of them in attendance for UFC 93. I mean, that's something that we haven't really seen since, and I don't know if we'll ever see again, because remember, they all won. They all put on the performances of a lifetime. I mean, it's really hard to recreate that, for the stars to align like that. Pretty amazing. I mean, certainly here in the United States, it didn't have that impact, but there, that's the night Irish MMA, really arrived. It had been around for years before. The likes of Owen Roddy, who never made it to the UFC, and guys like John Kavanagh, who you heard earlier, and I've gotten to learn more about it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm some kind of Irish MMA expert, but I have gone to learn a hell of a lot more and appreciate it more. It was around long before that night, of course. The first UFC event, UFC 93, perhaps you could say it was maybe born or had it, first or second year birthday there, if you know what I'm talking about, if we're going to compare this to a young child. But it all came together that night, and he was a very, very big part of it. A gigantic part of it. He defeated Josh Sampo that night via first round submission, and that place exploded. There was around 10,000 people there. It was called the O2 at the time, and that place just exploded. It was amazing. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time Conor beat Brandao and said the famous line to Dan Hardy, who was on the mic that night doing the post-fight interviews, saying, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. I mean, exploded is not even a word that you can use at that point. Paddy, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
Okay. I was just curious if you considered, once you found out that your UFC career was over, did you consider continuing your career for another organization, keep on fighting?
Well, as I said, I didn't really understand the excess kind of risks involved in fighting. I didn't sit down and analyze that as I was going through fighting. I'm at more risk than this guy. Am I in my head? I'm just fighting at the end of the day. And to me, as I told you, it was always okay. So I don't know what to do in the situation now. You know what I mean? The UFC tell me that they can't. I can't pass a medical with them. So I don't think I can pass a medical for any organisation, and I don't fancy getting in that doesn't exist without a medical. So my hands are kind of tied in a way,
Okay. Are you at peace? I mean, can you walk away knowing that you'll never fight again? Especially, I know how disappointed you were after your last fight. Are you at peace with this decision, or do you think it will take some time for you to come to terms with it?
No, I'm not a piece of it at all. Like, that's what he said. I spent a whole week in Iceland there, and my emotions are going back and forward with it, like anybody's would be. I can't believe that I'll never get to make that walk again, and I can't see how I could, unless I could find some way of proving that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Are you going to try to find a way, or is this a closed case? Like, are you going to try to talk to doctors, try to get cleared, or is that impossible?
I talked to doctors. I already asked the doctors for a letter I sent them to Vegas, and the doctors in Vegas said that they couldn't pass it on that grounds, that a doctor wouldn't pass me and say that this guy is medically cleared to fight now, knowing that he had factor 14 deficiency.
Okay. That's amazing. So I'm assuming most of these doctors, if you say it's 1 in 5 million, haven't really met people like you before. Like they're all kind of in the dark about it as well, right?
Well, I would be definitely the only one in Ireland. So
wow.
The people that have been dealing with me for my whole life, they would have more experience with than a lot of people. I don't know how many people would have it in America. I don't know what the scale of people is, but I know that there's one, and that's me in Ireland now, that has that deficiency. So,
when did you tell your coach and longtime friend John Kavanagh? When did you inform him of this? Did we lose him again? There he is.
No, I have you. I was just getting a charger.
Okay, yeah, you're back.
So it's like, I knew that, like, it being so rare, no one's going to understand it. No one's going to be able to say that's like, even if you said it to the doctor, it's a factor 14 deficiency, they'd say to you, no, it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
No one would hear of it, so like, it's so rare that if we start bringing up like, something that's so rare and people don't understand it, I was like, I'm definitely going to be gone, you know what I mean?
So when did you tell your coach about this?
John, well, I talked to John about it, but I didn't sit down and tell John, as I'm saying. I didn't know that the risks were as definite. I found out when I kind of looked into this, because this became a problem.
Okay.
That it's more serious than I thought, you know? And all along the way, it's just been, this has not bothered me. To me, I'm still able-bodied, but I'm being told by doctors now that this is, you know?
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point you informed him that your career was over, right? Before the news came out?
John?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so what was that like for you? How difficult was that?
I don't know. I don't know how, like, it doesn't feel real, you know what I mean? It feels like a death area. That's what it feels like. It feels like a death. Like, even the whole last week when I was in Iceland, I was so relaxed, it was so nice and things like that, but it just kind of felt like it's coming back in waves of thinking about it, you know, and I was still training in Iceland and still keeping my head nice and clear, and that's what I will continue to do. It just feels like my hands are tied now with, I didn't know that this situation with this was as serious as it is. Okay.
So perhaps that's the silver lining. It's great that it was caught and that, nothing serious has happened and that you can continue your life as it was before. John mentioned earlier that you will remain a part of the team, that you will be a coach now, that you're going to be sort of colleagues now. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to, now mentor the young fighters and be a part of the SBG team from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, but I've always been coaching. To me, as I said, when I came into John's, when I found that place, I was like, sticking there wasn't to go to the UFC for me. It was like, this is a good group of people doing jiu-jitsu, everyone having fun, everyone happy. That's how it started for me, and that's very addictive. So it's still that same situation when I'm with the guys and with the new kids coming up and going to new places training, and it's exciting, So that's always what I wanted to do, and it just led to the UFC as well. But I'm not going to stop doing that because I don't be fighting competitive in the UFC anymore.
Mm-hmm. You tweeted last week that you guys were in Iceland as a team for the first time since before that UFC Dublin show, and knowing what you were going through and that maybe the end was coming, and even the stuff that Conor was going through. I mean, what was that like? Did you're kind of in Iceland, secluded from the world. No one's really bothering you. There's not a lot of media there and stuff. was that a great way to sort of end it for you? I mean, how were your emotions with everything that was going on surrounding you and the team and all that stuff? It was madness here in the United States, and you guys are just sort of tucked away, and you knew something that we didn't even know. So there was even more news to come out of the team. What was that experience like for you this past week in Iceland?
That's easy. That's how Irish people operate. You know? Everyone else is panicking, and we're just chilling.
So that was another day.
There's no need for panic, you know. Like you just have to look at the facts of the situations, and it's when you have to weigh up your options and like whatever's going on with other people and start. Like, you don't be sitting around getting involved in that kind of stuff. That's everyone else's business as well, you know.
Mm-hmm. Gosh,
so we're not sitting there emotional discussing this stuff and things like that. Iceland's just a nice chill place. The training is amazing. The food is amazing. Like it's a really, really unreal place to train and get away.
I wish I could be like that. I get anxious about everything. I admire you guys for that. It's a beautiful thing.
That's kind of like a frame of mind that we bring to the game. I think that what we did bring.
It's your impact will be felt for a long time. Like I said, that night, when you look back now, is it all kind of worth it? Like, I don't even know how to phrase that, but that night, that first night when you came out and set the table, a night that I think there should be a movie made about that night, what you guys did in July. Like the fact that you got to experience that, that's what I meant when I asked you, like, are you at peace? You got to experience something that very few people get to experience in their entire life, fighting in front of their people, victorious, setting the table for the night, and the way the night ended was just magical. Is it okay because you got to experience that? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, as always, when we hit the place, we hit it running.
Yeah,
that's what we felt happy. Like, if you look at the consecutive fights that we had, we were putting out fights at a lot of tempo. Like, we were putting out fights, and Ash and Connor and myself and Neil, and you know, for a little nation, we were putting out some of the fights. So I think that we hit the ground running, and it was kind of go, 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 and that was my attitude towards it. Like, it wasn't just like get in and fight now because we've made it through the door in a way, you know?
Yeah, amazing. Just simply amazing. You know, some people are asking me on Twitter if you're going to do grappling tournaments. You have any interest in that sort of thing? EBI, Metamoris, any of that?
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, definitely. Like, these are all things that I have to kind of sit down and weigh up and sit down with like the people that deal with that are experts in this, the blood disorder that we have. So,
right.
Like, I'm sure that there's no headshots in grappling and things like that, but then again, they have to weigh up the options, and if we can get past to do that, 100% they'll be doing grappling tournaments.
And also curious, because I know how close you are, what was it like when you told your son that you had to retire?
He's killed, you know. He's just really said, it was good, wasn't it? Remember this and remember that, and then it's just back to life then for him. Like, it's not a big crazy world for him with cameras and all over here, you know.
Yeah.
He still has a simple little life, and it stays that way for him as well. So I have a simple life, and I coach in the gym now, and I try and do my own training thing, and then I fight when fights come up, and that's the way it is. I'll just fill that time. I'll still be training, and I'll still be with the pro team.
Okay, so it goes back to a more simpler life, but I'm glad to hear that you are in relatively good spirits. I mean, over time, it will probably get easier to digest, but I do appreciate you coming on, Paddy, to talk about this. Let's close on these last two questions, if I can. And again, really thank you very much for coming on. How do you want people to remember you? Is there something that you want people to remember you by? The way you fought, the way you handled yourself? If you never fight again, if this is really it, how do you want people to remember you as a fighter?
I went in and tried to play my game, and like to me, fighting is like jigsaw pieces, little bits and little sequences, and I went in always trying to execute sequences that we'd been practicing in the gym that John had been showing me, and the whole team had been working on together, and that's what it's about, doing it in a live atmosphere, and that's what it's always about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's just like a dash of just scrapping in there as well.
Yes, indeed. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what's your take on this craziness with Conor? Is this going to get resolved or what?
I don't know. No comment.
No comment. Fair enough. We've said enough. Paddy, I appreciate it, my man. Thank you. I meant everything I said. It was truly an honor to get to know you, and I hope to get to see you at many more events in the future. And that time we got to share some tea was great. I have some. I know you don't like the iced tea, but it's the closest I can get. I don't usually drink the tea on my show, but I got some for you. So I raise my glass to you, my friend. You're great, and I wish you the very best. And I hope everything works out okay.
Thank you, Mr. Holohan. Thank you very much. And that compliment at the start, you've met a lot of people, a lot of good people. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you very soon. All the best to you. And again, thank you for some time here tonight. I know a lot's going on in your life, but I sincerely appreciate it.
I will figure it out, Ariel. We'll figure it out, won't we?
Okay. There he is. The hooligan, Paddy Holohan. Beautiful stuff. Cheers to him.